It was a cold January morning in Ypsilanti, Michigan, when Jack Brown, a respected real estate agent, picked up the phone in his office for what would be his final call. His son was on the other end, but Jack's voice was filled with tension. "We've got trouble," he said, his words a chilling prelude to the events that would follow. Moments later, two men entered his office, one delivering a fatal gunshot that silenced Jack forever. But the motive behind his murder? It's a puzzle that has confounded investigators for decades. Was Jack the victim of a calculated hit, silenced for uncovering dangerous secrets, or did something more personal lead to his untimely death? Stay with me as we unravel the mysterious and deeply unsettling case of Jack Brown, a story of unanswered questions, shadowy suspects, and a chilling final conversation that still echoes to this day. Join me for another ride through the strange, odd, and mysterious here at Odd Mystery Stories. Today's video is sponsored by Aura, the all-in-one app designed to protect your personal information and keep you safe online. Let me start with a question. How many spam calls and texts do you get in a day? Spam calls are annoying, but the real issue is even bigger. Hackers recently stole 2.9 billion records from national public data. These records include names, addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, and worst of all, social security numbers. Some of this data has even been released online for free. If you're not taking steps to protect your personal information, now is the time to start. That's why I'm grateful for Aura. Aura monitors your personal data across billions of data points, including the dark web, and public records to alert you to potential identity theft. They don't just stop there. They also work to reduce spam calls and protect your sensitive information from being misused. And in the worst case, Aura provides up to $5 million in identity theft insurance to give you peace of mind. Protect your online security with Aura today. You can try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/OMS. Once again, that's aura.com/OMS. Don't wait, your peace of mind is worth it. Jack Brown was the kind of man people naturally gravitated toward. In Ypsilanti, Michigan, a close knit town where everyone seemed to know each other, Jack stood out as a well respected figure. Born and raised in Ypsilanti, he was deeply rooted in the community. Friends and neighbors described him as hardworking, fair, and approachable, a man who built his success not on business acumen alone, but also on genuine connections with people. Jack owned a small real estate company, a business he had nurtured for years. It was more than a career to him, it was a way to give back to his town, helping families find homes and businesses thrive. Beyond his professional life, Jack was an active member of the Ypsilanti Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, lending his time and influence to community projects. But Jack wasn't just a businessman, he was also a family man. To his second wife, Anne, and his children, he was the anchor of their lives. Those who knew him spoke of his warm laugh and his steady demeanor and his unwavering dedication to the people he loved. He was the kind of man who always seemed to have time for others, whether it was sharing a kind word with a neighbor or offering advice to a friend in need. In the days leading up to January 11th, 1984, Jack's life appeared to be as stable and as ordinary as ever. There were no signs of trouble, no indications that anything was amiss. But beneath the surface of this idyllic image, a storm was brewing, one that would shatter the lives of everyone who knew him. What secrets, if any, might Jack have been harboring? Could someone in his seemingly peaceful circle held a grudge? Or did something darker loom on the horizon? These questions would only become clear after his sudden and tragic death, a mystery that would ripple through Ypsilanti for years to come. January 11th, 1984 began like any other day for Jack Brown. His real estate office in Ypsilanti was bustling with activity, a reflection of the thriving business. It was a routine Wednesday morning, until it wasn't. At approximately 11:10 a.m., two men entered Jack's office. They were strangers, their presence notable in the tight-knit town where unfamiliar faces stood out. Witnesses later described the pair as purposeful, moving with an air of quiet intimidation. One man approached Jack directly, while the other lingered near the entrance, watching over the room. Inside Jack's office, the tension was palpable. Jack was on a phone call with his son Jackie, who was scheduled for surgery later that day. In what would become his final spoken words to his son, Jack uttered a chilling warning: "We've got trouble." The words were ominous, and moments later, the trouble became all too real. One of the men confronted Jack, reportedly saying, "You think you're pretty smart, don't you?" To which Jack replied, "Well, maybe." The exchange was brief, almost cryptic. Without further warning, the man raised a 38 caliber revolver and fired a single shot, a fatal shot to Jack's neck. As Jack collapsed, the two men locked three of his employees in the office bathroom before fleeing the scene. It was an execution-style killing, swift, deliberate, and personal. Jack was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to his injuries 12 hours later, leaving behind a grieving family and a shocked community. The crime scene offered little in the way of clues. There were no signs of robbery, the cash register remained untouched, and nothing appeared to have been taken. The killing seemed calculated, as if Jack's death was the end goal. But why? What could a real estate agent in a small Michigan town have done to warrant such a cold-blooded murder? As the police cordoned off the office and began their investigation, the questions only multiplied. Who were the two men, and why had they targeted Jack? What secrets might he have been keeping? Or what secrets might he have known? The day that began like any other ended with a senseless tragedy, and the mystery surrounding Jack's death was only beginning. The investigation into Jack Brown's murder began immediately, but from the outset, the case was anything but straightforward. Ypsilanti's police force, accustomed to handling small town disputes and minor crimes, found themselves grappling with a killing that seemed more fitting for a crime thriller than their quiet community. One fact was clear: this wasn't a random act of violence. The lack of robbery or theft pointed to a deliberate and targeted attack. The execution style nature of the shooting only reinforced the idea that Jack had been marked for death. But why? The witnesses in the office that day provided police with detailed descriptions of the two men. The gunman was described as around 6 feet tall, wearing a beige jacket and light-colored pants. He carried a 38 caliber revolver, the weapon used to end Jack's life. His accomplice was slightly shorter, about 5'10", dressed in coveralls and a blue knit stocking cap. He was reportedly armed with an automatic handgun. Composite sketches were drawn and distributed, but no immediate leads came from them. Despite their armed presence, the two men hadn't harmed anyone else in the office, focusing solely on Jack. It was as if their singular purpose was to silence him. Police combed through Jack's personal and professional life, searching for any clues that could explain why someone would want him dead. By all accounts, Jack was well liked and respected. He had no known enemies, no debts, and no connections to criminal activity. The deeper investigators dug, the more confounding the case became. The possibility of a professional hit began to emerge. The precision and calm demeanor of the attackers suggested they were experienced, possibly hired to carry out the job. But who would order such a hit, and what could Jack have done to provoke such a drastic response? The killers had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a grieving family, a stunned community, and a mystery that refused to unravel. As the investigation into Jack Brown's murder stalled, the case began to take on an unsettling life of its own. The lack of answers only deepened the mystery, and strange details emerged that left even seasoned investigators puzzled. One of the most intriguing clues came from Jack's family. His wife, Anne, shared that in the days leading up to his death, Jack had been uncharacteristically anxious. She also remembered a conversation that they had had after a recent party. While driving home, Jack mentioned something about writing the names of important, powerful people connected to illegal activity and placing this piece of paper in a safe deposit box. When she asked more about this, he said that it was probably better for her not to know more about it. At the time, she did not take him seriously because he seemed to be drunk. She never found out who those important, powerful people were, but the police think that these people could be involved with Jack's murder. After the murder, Anne went searching for a key that would belong to a safe deposit box, but found nothing. The timing of the murder added another layer of intrigue. On the very same day that Jack was gunned down, local authorities executed a major drug bust in Ypsilanti. It was no ordinary operation. The raid had been initiated by information from an anonymous informant. This coincidence, or was it a coincidence, sparked speculation. Could Jack have been the informant, or had he accidentally uncovered something that placed him in grave danger? Investigators believe that people in the community have information on the case, but are afraid to come forward. Another theory involved mistaken identity. Jack Brown was a common name, and some wondered if the killers had targeted the wrong man. But if that were the case, how would they have identified him so definitively in his office? The precision of the attack suggested otherwise. It seemed personal, not random. Others theorized that Jack might have stumbled into a real estate deal with ties to illegal activities. His role as a real estate agent could have inadvertently exposed him to shady dealings, and if he threatened to blow the whistle, it might have made him a target. However, there was no evidence to suggest Jack was knowingly involved in anything illicit. The details of Jack's final moments also fueled speculation. The gunman's chilling words, "You think you're pretty smart, don't you?" suggest that Jack might have known his assailant, or at least understood why he was being targeted. Yet, there was no indication from witnesses that Jack showed any sign of recognizing the men when they entered his office. Even years later, those close to the case couldn't shake the feeling that the key to solving the mystery lay in Jack's personal or professional life. Was it possible that Jack had discovered something so dangerous that it cost him his life? Or was he an innocent victim caught up in circumstances beyond his control? Each theory seemed plausible, but none led to definitive answers. The community remained haunted by the notion that whoever killed Jack Brown had walked away freely, taking their motives and secrets with them. This chapter peels back the layer of Jack Brown's life and the possible reasons for his death, leaving us to grapple with the complexity of the mystery. Was Jack the victim of a sinister plot, or had he unknowingly placed himself in harm's way? These questions, much like the case itself, remain unanswered. Jack Brown's murder sent shockwaves through Ypsilanti, a community unaccustomed to such violence. In the days and weeks following his death, the town mourned the loss of a beloved figure while grappling with a growing sense of unease. Jack wasn't just a random victim. He was a respected businessman and family man whose life ended in an inexplicable act of violence. For Jack's family, the grief was compounded by the lack of closure. His first wife, Jo, the mother of his children, and his second wife, Anne, were left not only with the pain of his absence, but also with the haunting questions surrounding his death. Who had killed Jack and why? Theories swirled, but no answers emerged. The investigation, once filled with urgency, gradually slowed. Leads dried up, and the trail of the two men responsible went cold. Over time, the case faded from the headlines, but for those who knew Jack, the mystery never truly disappeared. The crime scene itself became a point of speculation. Jack's office had remained untouched except for the horrific act that took his life. The lack of robbery or clear motive painted the crime as one of precision, leaving investigators to wonder whether the murder had been a professional hit. If so, who hired the killers, and what was the reason? Over the years, Jack's name has become synonymous with unanswered questions. His case continues to baffle those who look back on it. Was it connected to the rumored list of names Jack had mentioned? Did the timing of the nearby drug bust hold any significance? Or was there another, more personal motive buried in Jack's seemingly ordinary life? For the community of Ypsilanti, Jack's murder became a chilling reminder that even the most idyllic towns can harbor secrets. It left residents questioning how well they really knew their neighbors and whether the killers might still be walking among them. As time marched on, Jack's story remained a topic of quiet discussion, a local legend of sorts, tinged with both sorrow and fear. The unanswered questions left behind a sense of unease, as if the truth were just out of reach, hidden in the shadows of time. Though decades have passed, the mystery of Jack Brown's murder continues to linger. His surviving family holds on to hope that someday someone will come forward with the missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, his story remains a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of secrets. Jack Brown's life was one of kindness, integrity, and devotion to his family, his community, and his work. The senseless nature of his murder left a void that could never be filled, and for those who knew him, the pain of losing him was compounded by the lack of answers. For Jack's wife Anne and his children, the questions remain an ever present burden. What happened to the list Jack mentioned? Did it hold the key to understanding why he was targeted? Or was he the victim of mistaken identity, his life taken in an act of tragic miscalculation? These unanswered questions weigh heavily on their hearts. Theories abound, but the truth has remained elusive for decades. Some believe Jack's death was tied to a dangerous secret he uncovered, while others consider the possibility of a personal vendetta or even a professional hit. Each theory carries its own implications, but none provides the clarity his family deserves. As the years pass, the memory of Jack Brown endures in Ypsilanti. Those who knew him remember his warmth, his steady presence, and the way he made others feel valued. He wasn't just a real estate agent, he was a trusted friend, a loving husband, and a devoted father. Sadly, several people close to Jack have since passed away, including Jack's coworker, Darwin Dutch Jordan, in 2015, his first wife, Jo Brown, in 2014, and his two sons, Clark in 2016 and Jack in 1994. It's easy to focus on the mystery surrounding Jack's death, but it's equally important to honor the life he lived. Jack was a man who believed in hard work, community, and family, a legacy that survives through those who loved him and the lives he touched. For his remaining family and friends, the hope for answers continues. Perhaps someone out there knows something, a detail, a memory, or a piece of information that could finally bring resolution. Until then, the story of Jack Brown stands as a testament to the resilience of those who loved him and the strength it takes to carry on in the face of uncertainty. To Jack's family, friends, and the Ypsilanti community, this case is more than just a mystery. It's a painful chapter in their lives that deserves justice. While the answers remain hidden, the love and respect for Jack continues to shine brightly. A reminder that his life was far more than the circumstances of his death. For those listening to this story, consider the enduring impact of a man like Jack Brown. If you know anything, even the smallest detail about what happened in that day in January of 1984, you can be the one to help bring peace to a family that has waited far too long. May we all remember Jack, not just for the mystery of his passing, but for the man he was, a pillar of his community and a source of unwavering love for those closest to him. Thank you for joining me in this odd mystery. If you enjoyed this story, you might also be interested in the story of the unsolved mystery of Al Kite. You'll find the link to that story in the upper right corner of your screen. Your support helps keep these stories alive, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And for those who'd like to further support the channel, be sure to check out our online store for exclusive merch and more. Thank you.